like to call the meeting to order, and if you'll please rise, we'll say the pledge together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. Goladai?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Thank you. I would entertain a motion for approval of the regular minutes and special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Goladai. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Were there any corrections or questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Goladai?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzman?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening, and I'm going to turn it right over to our retirement recognition.
Well, thank you. Welcome everybody as well. We have a couple accommodations in communications. Folks who, at least in the first case, I want to have a retirement recognition, and it's for Jackie Hess, who's a librarian aide at Dan Emmett. Jackie decided to wait until the last minute, maybe, so she didn't have to come in front of everybody. But she has just been an invaluable member of the Mount Vernon family. Started in 1993 at Dan Emmett Elementary, so that's 29 years. So I just wanted to publicly recognize her tonight for her years of service. We've kind of taken care of her already with some of those retirement things that we'd like to share with them. The second thing I'd like to make a commendation.
Give her a round of applause.
Yeah, let's give her a round. The second piece I'd like to do a quick commendation for is Taylor Sennett. Taylor is a junior, and he was part of the Digital Academy and really worked extra hard to try to work his way through his coursework, and didn't get an opportunity to graduate with the graduating class that we just honored. And so I wanted to just bring recognition to him. I had an opportunity to go and provide him with his diploma. We took him a cap and the tassel, as well as a little cake, just to say congratulations as a junior who was graduating, quite frankly, as a senior. So I told them that I would just publicly bring that to your attention tonight. We'll give him a cuddle. So those are the two commendations I want to share.
Thank you. And we have the student government report
Nobody tonight.
tonight. And we have Mr. Lang. Would you like to?
Thank you, Dr. Bennett. I just want to address the board and for the classified staff, our support staff. That's your aides, your bus drivers, your bus mechanics, your cooks, your custodians, your secretaries. Just want to thank you on behalf of all of them to be able to sit down with the board and Mr. Hankins and Mr. Cedar to be able to negotiate a 3-year contract for our bargaining unit. It's a pleasure to have this privilege, to be able to do this. We've worked well together, came up with a good 3-year contract. I want to thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and we have 4 people signed up for public participation, and Mr. Jeff Klein.
I'll share a little bit tonight, just about, it's kind of a warning. And I'm not going to waste the first minute and a half going through some scripture, but there are scriptures where it talks about bring the little children unto Jesus, and he laid hands on and healed them. It also talks about that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And all these quotes I use, you can look them up in the Bible. And also talks about we are dumb dogs. We cannot bark. There is so much going on in society today. And we lift the names of them 19 kids that were killed every Sunday in church, and I know another church is doing it, because evil is flourishing in this nation. And all it takes for evil to flourish is good men do nothing. we have got more problems on our hand than what, and I'll have you pass this down that way, and then when you see it, I'll pass it down this way. It's just dates. Basically, it's real simple. There's a bunch of dates on it, about 30 or 40 of them. And as you see that, I'll tie into where we're going. And if we don't wake up sooner or later, and I'm not saying this school is terrible, okay? I've met with Bill Cedar an hour and a half, and I've met with Mr. Larkham for an hour and a half. We've had some good conversation. Not everything's terrible, but there's evil coming. And in 2 Chronicles 7:14, it said, if is the word, my people would pray and humble themselves. And it also said, when it said my people, it says if they will turn from their wicked ways. We got a lot of wicked ways going on in this nation. And I'm going to address this tonight. This is kind of what we've been doing. You'll see it coming around here. Here's all the dates. These are all, and that stuff is an abomination unto the Lord. It says right in Scripture. These are LGBTQ events going on in the state of Ohio. This is just the state of Ohio. So we're into Pride Month. It should be Shame Month. All this children's hospital clinics you put in here and all the psychiatrist people you put in here ain't going to make a hill of beans for these kids because they're deceived. These kids are being brainwashed. We have been attending. We used to do the big gay parade in Columbus every year. 500,000 people, the most debaucherous thing you ever see in your life. And you wonder why all these little kids, the age of 6, 8, 10, and 12 years old, are messed up. It's because they're grooming them. And you'll see it on all the news channels that are rising up across America. They're tired of people grooming their children. We have just been to 2 events. Delaware, LGBTQ, the Delaware City Schools put it on. And you can pull this stuff up with Delaware City Council. You can see it. Their own ground. They turned out 400, 500, 600 kids at a park with the drag queens for 2 different sessions, 2 hours each session, dancing for little kids. Little kids, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. And as we took the ice cream truck that I have, Ice Cream for Jesus, and we went to be witnesses to share Jesus with these kids and ice cream, and you know what they done? As they walked by, middle schoolers and high school kids, hollering out, F you. F your Jesus. F you. I mean, the most nasty. When they get all dolled up in the rainbow colors, they come unglued. We have been doing these events. We just did one in Coshocton. The kids in our community are turning out for these things. TikTok is ruining the kids. All of the surgeries they're doing to cut their genitals. Yeah, well, here's what I'm going to ask. Let's put together a meeting sometime other than just 3 minutes to where we can come in, and we'll bring some pastors. I get a few. We got a group of about 100 of us here in Ohio that are getting ready for all these events they're doing. And it's not just June. It's June, July, August, September, and October. They're doing these events. You're going to see this thing grow in your school. It's going to grow and get out of hand. Christina Aguilera, one thing I was going to pass out to you, if you want this afterwards, I'll give it to you. Christina Aguilera is the kids' idol. Look, this was LGBTQ, Christina Aguilera, parading around in front of kids. That is what they're doing at these festivals. The drag queens and everybody else. So I just come to bring it to your attention. We've got a lot more information on these. Please, let's do a meeting. If you want, stop by my car lot and see me, and I'll share a lot more. But this is where we're headed if we don't change something.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andrea White. Thank you for this opportunity to address the board and the public. I would like to speak tonight about the importance of casting a wide net while you're searching for a new swim coach. As you may know, Coach Kevin Steele has left or will leave at the end of July for the University of Virginia, which is a D1 coaching opportunity. It's a fabulous opportunity, but that leaves our high school swim team without a coach. The swim team is a really great community asset. It is built on strengths of the students and prepares them for the future. They have dedicated swimmer athletes, their families, parents are super dedicated. And for the past couple of years, it's been really challenging. They've held traditions and programs together through 4 different coaches, 3 of whom left to go on to college coaching positions.
We hire ones that are too good.
Yeah. So that's good for them, but it's a challenge for us. But they've held together an indoor sport during COVID protocols, during the closure of their home pool, they've had changes in practice locations, they've had different quarantine protocols that they have gone through. They have not been able to host a home meet for 2 years. And I will give a massive thanks and shout out to Coach Sam Williams and her assistant Taylor Beal for pulling that together through the first year of the pandemic. And then Coach Kevin Steele, as you know, has been here for a year, and he's been fabulous. The swim team is, of all the sports teams, is probably one of the most inclusive. It takes students who have been swimming since they were age 3, but it also takes students who have just learned how to swim. So you can start as a swimmer in 9th grade. You don't have to, it would be lovely if you had the opportunity to be on a Y team, but that's no longer. So they take people who basically start swimming in 9th grade and turn them into real athletes. They, for the first time this past year, they had 4 divers, brand new diving team that they put together. The students who were on the diving team had to split their time between swim practice and dive practice, and those 4 students went to districts. Like, this is a really, for a small team, it's a real powerhouse. They have the highest GPA of a mixed gender team. I think girls cross country and boys tennis are higher than that. And we have students on the team from other districts. We have a student from East Knox who's looking forward to swimming for another year with us, and there's a student from Centerburg on the team. So it's not only Mount Vernon students who are benefiting here. And we're teaching our students a lifelong sport, and many of them go on to swim at college level. A couple of them at the best team in the country. So I really encourage you to cast a wide net, advertise as widely as possible, network through the alumni, through our partnerships with MVNU, the Surf Swim Club, and the new MVNU team that just went competitive this past season. And I know it seems like most
Take your
districts,
time is up, I'm sorry.
put it as a question on your interviews, while you're bringing in just a few more people. I know you fill most of your positions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamie can go through.
Hi, thanks so much. I just want to say again that I have a son at Wigan Street and a daughter who graduated from high school in 2016. And I just want to express again the just support for our wonderful teachers. We love Wigan Street, and they're just great. They did such a great job during the pandemic. So I just generally want to say thank you. And I just wanted to, I guess, say that, well, first of all, I'm more concerned about, the suicide rate is getting really high. It's going up so much among young people, and it's getting younger and younger. And we had, what was it, a middle schooler a few years ago. I'm more concerned about that, and if our kids feel excluded, and if they might feel compelled to end their lives if they feel excluded. So I just want to speak on behalf of inclusivity that can save kids' lives. I also wanted to mention and kind of ask, I know that Ohio recently passed new laws, I think lowering the grade requirement for teachers to carry arms, concealed arms in schools. So I know before you have said that, I'd just like to know the board's position on that, and if you do arm teachers, will you inform parents, and will that be like a community discussion? And just wanted to point out just some facts really quick, that the American Federation of Teachers, National Education Association, and the National Association of School Resource Officers are all, and a lot of law enforcement as well, is against arming teachers. I mean, they show up and everybody's shooting and they don't know who to shoot, of course, The facts show that students do access teachers' guns, and there was a local incident a few years ago, I think, where there was a gun found that, left in the bathroom or something, not in Mount Vernon. The risk of shootings increases if there's a firearm present, and there's been a lot of unintentional shootings in schools from armed teachers, but also suicides and homicides, and also the liability risk for schools. And I just wanted to put a quick plug in that most school shooters have a connection to the school, and they get their weapons. I don't know if everybody knows this, but the vast majority get their weapons from family, unsecured weapons from family, you know, and a lot of them are teenagers or, young adults. So promoting safe storage is something that I work on in our community, and I would just encourage the schools to maybe, send reminders of that too, because we can save less that way. So.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Hanson.
Good evening. I want to ask you if you will please correct me if I'm wrong with what I wanted to talk about. I understand the medical clinic for the students will be next year, starting. And it is my understanding that students will be able to go to that clinic and get advice and possibly even prescriptions without their parents knowing. Is that not correct?
Not correct.
Not correct.
Very traditional right now that everybody takes off with an idea and it's not correct.
It's just wanted to make sure before I
I'll put that on the
address
record.
right? Well, it's very important to me from this standpoint, and you as a school board, I believe, are morally responsible for what you allow in the school system.
And the board has actually looked into that, and that's why we looked at it.
Well, no matter what it be, LGBTQ, all of these things that are going on that are separating us as a society and separating many people from their belief in God. So I'm just saying, when you make decisions that are contrary to moral law, I think God's going to hold you responsible for this. I'll read you a chapter here in Galatians, 8 verses, and I'll let it go there, but I think you get the idea where I'm coming from on this. Chapter 6 in Galatians, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he rejoice in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh, of the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And I'll pray for all of you that make good decisions in the future.
And we have no board items for discussion. And you have some additions?
I do have a number of additions tonight. Which are clause in section 6B or 7B. In section 11, the employment resignation of Kevin Steele. In item 11B, employment of summer school personnel. We have a number of teachers that, since the board preview went out, we've put on the agenda, and then some supplemental contracts. So those items are in your board agenda tonight as addition.
Have the superintendent's report.
All right, before I do the superintendent's report, I guess for the record again, we had this at our previous board meetings. The school-based health center is something that we think can be of great value to our students. We've gone to great lengths to try to answer all the questions we could about parent consent. Parents will have, there will be no service offered that parents won't be aware of, that parents don't know about. And obviously it does get frustrating when, we say it, we say it again, and yet we still find ourselves with folks thinking that we're going to turn these into clinics and do things that really are outside of our purview. So we're really working hard to try to make that a positive thing in our district. Speaking of, kind of a little bit to Jamie's thoughts and concerns a little bit. Under the district update, we thought we'd do something a little bit different this month, and we thought we would share many of the safety things that we're doing in the district. It's been a really unfortunate situation, horrific, frankly, what happened in Texas. And every time we have one of those situations, it just makes us all cringe and double down and make sure that we're doing things the best that we can do. And I feel as a district, we've always been a little bit at the forefront of things, and rightfully so, and a lot of it is in line with what Rick Schaefer is so strongly an advocate for. And sometimes I think we need to bring it to the board just to remind you of all the things that we are doing. Are we perfect? We're not perfect. But it is important that we, share with you what we're doing and what we're going to continue to do. So, actually, I'll just go right here. So, Rick, you want to come up and you and I can kind of tag team this thing a little bit. Again, school safety is really, really important to both of us. And we came across this graphic, the 5 layers of school safety. We didn't invent this, but we saw it and thought, you know what, a lot of what we are doing today fits underneath these 5 layers. And we began to, quite frankly, we started out on a big board and started just listing all the things that we're doing. And it becomes quite an interesting list. So in the emergency management section of this, we're blessed to have Rick, who's really, his primary responsibility is director of maintenance. But if I said that means 51% maintenance, 49% director of school safety, and he would reverse it if he could. And so I so appreciate his willingness to go above and beyond. Also part of this emergency management team, we have a school resource officer, Jeremiah Armstrong, who's with us all the time. You see him pictured there with Nova. Rick, why don't I let you do a couple of the next ones, just share, kind of this broader community that we really welcome and invite in.
Yeah, we are very, very blessed to have such a tight-knit community with our first responders. So our emergency management team and I, honestly, we started a P20 committee that meets monthly, and that's pre-K through college and universities. We invite all the county schools, myself, there's normally someone from the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, Mount Vernon PD, EMS, Fire, Emergency Management. We just share resources, what we're doing, what kind of drills can we do. When you do a vulnerability assessment on my buildings, I'll do a vulnerability assessment on your buildings. So we go over a lot of things. I just came back last night from DC. I was at a National Campus Safety Conference for the last 3 days. So my toolbox is full that I want to spill to everybody when we get to that next meeting. ODE has House Bill 123, you've probably heard of, it's coming down the pipe. Along with that House bill, we have to have a safety committee within each building. And we've got to name folks, and we've got to go have safety committee meetings and go over different vulnerabilities. We can do threat assessment training. We can do full tabletops. There's just so much that we can do in those meetings. Also, I mentioned our first responders. KCH also comes to that P20 meeting, community meeting. KCH really got involved when we were doing our reunification plan. And I was thinking, okay, if we have a disaster and a kiddo gets shipped to KCH, how do we know that that kiddo gets with the correct person? So now we have a pediatrics plan in place at KCH where we send a liaison to the hospital with our software so we make sure we get the right kid with the right parent. And then our website, I'm working on putting together a piece on our website for safety so parents can go on there and have different tabs and learn a little bit more about what we do.
The next slide kind of shares a lot of the staff training that we do. And when we started to put this down, just related to safety, I mean, we do lots of other trainings, but these are safety training related items. And when we were listing this, Rick just made a real point to tell me that the district is an all hazards approach to training, focusing on all aspects of safety. So we don't just pick one, we pick any sort of hazard that may come our way. It may be a tabletop exercise we're doing as an administrative team on a chemical spill. But we're looking at all the different hazards. Obviously, you see we're doing regular tornado drills. All staff does fire. We have CPI training. Every staff member is responsible for AED or automatic defibrillator training. We've done stop the bleed training at every building, and Rick has led that. We do threat assessment team training. Every school has a threat assessment team when you start to deal with different things that are going on in the school. And we also do the ALICE, or the Active Threat Response Training. And we're proud to have Rick as a certified ALICE trainer now. He went through and got that credentialed, one of the few people in the area that has that credentialing. And we take that incredibly serious. If you're wondering about the ALICE training, that is our active, and Rick, you like to call it active threat assessment, but it is an intruder training. So what happened down in Uvalde with an active shooter or someone who got into the building, we've been doing ALICE now for probably the last 5-6 years, and have really continued to up that process. If you're familiar with the ALICE acronym, it's listed right there: alert, lockdown, inform, encounter, and evacuate. And we've got some new things that we're doing with alert, but that's basically as quick as we can. We have to notify everybody in the building that we're going into a lockdown scenario. And that's always been a huge challenge, is how quickly can you tell the whole building? And we actually have come up with ways in which we do it rapidly, I think in such a way that when Rick goes to conferences, they're like, what? How do you do it that fast?
Yeah, it's amazing. When I talk at conferences, it shocks me when my peers are like, how did you get all this involvement, number one? And how do you get this far ahead? And I'm blessed with the superintendent that lets me just go crazy with the school safety stuff. And the school safety is my passion, so I work very hard at trying to.
And we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So ALICE is certainly something that we spend a great deal of time with as staff, and we practice it with our students. You'll see that here in a little bit. Obviously, lockdown is when you actually kind of try to secure and protect your students in place. And we have a couple different ways that we do that. Inform, we practice this on a regular basis. We have multiple people in the building who can immediately get on our camera systems, and they can identify who and where the intruder is. And we begin an informative, almost a conversation over the phone PA systems so that we can give situational awareness at any point in time. C is for counter, and that's where, if in fact a classroom was breached, we have to work on what do we do in that scenario and situation. And we hope it never happens, but you can't just do nothing. And then of course, E is the evacuation piece. And we practice evacuation, the right way to evacuate. We have rally points that we go to. Our students know those. From those rally points, we go to reunification points. And so all of these things are reviewed yearly, and we work with our kids on a regular basis. We try to do as much information as we can. We send out a letter, it's a small letter you can see there, letting parents know, what the ALICE drills are all about, how we're going to do it. We do it from an age-appropriate standpoint, and these are delicate conversations, and so we use books like I'm Not Scared, I'm Prepared for younger students. All of our teachers, you can see there's a teacher training piece in there that we walk through. So we do our best to try to be as informative as possible. We quite frankly sometimes get our skis out ahead of us. We were really testing ourselves a couple years ago. We were wanting it to be a bit more realistic and not rehearsed. And so, we began to say, well, within the next 2 weeks, we're going to do an Alice drill. And we would do it, and we wanted to get real time, authentic, not, hey, we're doing it at 10 o'clock and every teacher's already got their doors shut and they're, but we got a little ahead of ourselves, and we had forgot on one drill to say that this was a drill. And that created a little bit of chaos. And so we obviously changed some of our protocols. And so now once we go into the lockdown scenario, the first informative voice, if it is a drill, certainly indicates that. And yet we need to have this almost happen in such a way that we don't just take it laissez-faire for granted. Because when you do that, I think you hurt the process. When you see a fire drill today, and we've got to do 9 of those a year, it goes off and it's like, oh, fire drill, just trying to make sure we take these things serious. And so we have to kind of check ourselves at the door every once in a while, don't we, Rick?
Yeah.
That probably takes us to our next thing, and I'll let Rick explain this, but these are the exercises that we do on a yearly basis in terms of safety. So Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, so these are Ohio Revised Code that we must do every year in law and document and send in to ODE. So we have to do 4 tornado drills a year, and we want to do those in the fall and in the spring. I don't know if May is actually becoming more of the tornado month when kids aren't here, so we recommend March, April to be those last few fire drills. You see 6 and 9 up there. So in a non-sprinkler building, you only need to do, or on non-sprinkler, you do 9. If you have sprinklers within your building, you only need to do 6. I think most of our staff, unless it's really bad and they didn't get it in at the middle school, they still do 9. But if they, oh man, it's nasty weather, we're going to skip this month, so they can pick and choose a little bit. The Aed training is, Mr. Fry helped me set this up through Public School Works, and now we got it broke down to where the building, we have 2 different kind of AEDs. Some buildings have, I can't remember the name, but some buildings have one brand, another building have the other, so we make sure that that building's getting the correct training. The tabletop exercises we have to do, so this year ODE we would do a tabletop, and then in year 2 we would have to do a functional drill, and then in year 3 we would have to do full scale. So we need both, like this year we'll sit down, talk about what tabletop we want to do, we'll run through that, we'll do that same drill in a functional way and in a full scale way. And we have to document all that and give it back in to them. The Alice or safety drills, we have to do 3 a year. We always have at least one where law enforcement come in and they witness and help out with the scenario. We do reverse evacuation, so if they're out on the playground and the threat's inside, we don't want the kiddos running inside when we hit the alarm, so we do that, and then we also see how fast we can get them inside if the threat is outside. And then a rapid dismissal, we do that. And I think our drill this year is going to be our reunification exercise. We want to plan a reunification drill. That is going to be tough to pull off. But we do have all of the physical pieces in place as far as radios and all that over in my office. So if we have to do that, we've assigned an incident command structure within our district. I could get really deep in the weeds here, but we've got a pretty good plan in place, I believe.
And does that include notifying parents, communicating
Yes.
with them so they know where they are in the process?
Exactly. Yep.
So to give you a better understanding of reunification, when I mentioned rally points, when we exit the building, we'll go to a rally point. From that rally point, they're going to move to the reunification point. That will be Energy Fieldhouse for the district. We do have a contingency plan if it happens to be something that's very active here. But we wanted a very common place throughout the district that we could set up. Students would be in the back, parents would be in the front, tables would be set up, computers, and we have all of these things in place. So parents would know where to come to pick up their children. What we don't want them to do is go running to the school or running to the rally point, because the rally point is where we're just trying to gather the children, keep them safe till we get them on buses that get them transferred to the reunification point. And we've not taken that part to full scale. When we talk about doing a drill, we're not anticipating doing a drill with actual students. We would be anticipating doing a drill, taking perhaps a busload of teachers and setting up our reunification point here just to make sure the operational piece would work well.
This building site is perfect for a great flow so that we can keep parents and students separate until we want them to reunite, because the last thing we want is a parent that's not giving a kiddo back to see parents leaving with the kiddo.
And also, how are you connecting with the media so that they're
Yes,
notifying everybody?
we have, I wish I had my maps, but I have a map that shows media, where first responders are staging, where all the staging areas are, and where they're to go.
Kind of goes back to, we have to have on file with ODE our emergency operating plan, and inside that plan is who's responsible and where those places are located. And so everybody has a role they have to play. We had the Emergency Management Agency and first responders come to the building last year, and we sat in the old board office and really looked at all of the assignment and identified the people who will be kind of that communications mouthpiece. I think the communication was given to me to be that piece. You know, we all have our responsibilities. And we even went so far as to offer this out to the county. I mean, we've tried to draw on the Career Center. If we can together develop a common, you know, reunification piece and have all the equipment in place, we can work better together than we work separate. We also wanted to make note that we also have had a lot of first responder training. And so when you hear about the Uvalde folks and, you know, where they were at and who was where and when, we have had law enforcement, fire, medics in every single one of our buildings. They've walked them, they know what they are. They've come in our buildings. This is actually at the high school where they would practice. Obviously, this is like on a Saturday or Sunday and nobody's here.
And those are dummy guns, just an FYI. But yeah, this training is very important. Just while I was at safety conference, emergency management called me and said, hey, can we get one of your buildings July 11th? Rescue Task Force, I think, is an awesome thing that I think in Knox County was one of the first to start doing that. So they're going into what we call a warm zone. So if the threat is not neutralized but contained, then we've got, if you see the top photo there, you've got a SWAT, 2 medics, and then SWAT behind. So they're going into warm zones because most fatalities come from kiddos or people bleeding out. So the faster we can get to them, the more lives we can save. This is why I brought Stop Bleed, and we practice this so that we can try to get them to triage as quickly as possible.
I know these are tough conversations to even have, but we have to be prepared. I mean, we just do. It means thinking the unimaginable, but if we don't, and if they don't practice or they don't know our facilities, or you know they can't walk through it, then we'll find our kids at a disadvantage.
And you haven't really talked about entry to our schools and how protected they are. Maybe that would be a good point of conversation.
Yeah, I think
Or is that coming?
Yeah, they will hit that.
We'll hit that.
Sorry.
Another, just as far as our first responders getting in, I invite all, if you're Mount Vernon Avenue at lunchtime, stop in Denham and have lunch on me. So all law enforcement know they can go in, sit down, have lunch with the kids in the cafeteria. That's kind of been pretty neat to witness. The kiddos love it, because a lot of times kiddos see parents and law enforcement not getting along. So if I can get them into our buildings and let them know that they're the good guys, and also PD likes it. They get in there and have fun. They go out and play recess and get free lunch. They've asked for menus, but make sure they get there on the right day. But it gets them in our buildings.
In this kind of, okay, what have we done from a hardware, software standpoint? This is where it gets really kind of interesting. We did implement several years ago a new phone system with a lockdown feature, and this is, maybe I've shared it, but I'll share it again here. That really places us in lockdown almost immediately from any phone in any classroom or office in the district. And so that's really neat. We have a program called Navigate Prepare. We'll share just a thought on that. And security cameras. You know, we have now 11 buildings in the district. We have 8 school buildings, but we have the central office. We have this particular building, and we have, you know, our maintenance and transportation garage. In those 11 buildings, we have 226 indoor and outdoor cameras available. We have 23 regular bus routes. Every one of those bus routes has a new camera system on it that has 6 cameras, including sound. And so we can ping back to different cameras, and it certainly hasn't eliminated bus challenges, but when you can pull up a video and say, no, you really did throw that eraser back there, here you are, and all of a sudden it changes the conversation, and we can work towards a more positive behavior. I will say that in law enforcement has access when deemed necessary to all of the cameras in our building because they are all online. I can see every camera in every building from my phone. Law enforcement and 911 operators can do the same. So I think that's something that people didn't realize. Entrance doors, we have security intercoms for entrance at every one of our entry doors. All buildings have been now electronically key fobbed. And so, you know, we've been able to kind of do away with the old-fashioned key. The benefit there is we know who's going in and who's going out. It keeps a record. If somebody loses their key fob, we can disable it. And so that's been a real benefit. And every police, fire, EMS cruiser has key fobs for the district. And so they can enter our building if they need to in case of some sort of event. And so we think that's important. We have Rapid Barricade, which is a device that helps us secure a classroom. We've shared Rapid Barricade before, but those are inside every classroom, and they meet all the compliance standards of some sort of a door barricade. We also have bullet resistant film has been installed at all of the main entrances at each one of our buildings. Bullet resistance doesn't, I mean, it's going to take quite a few shots to completely break it. So it'd be almost similar to maybe your car in some instance, you know how it kind of spiders. And so it's not bulletproof in the fact that it'll never go, but
it slows them down. It buys us time, which is, yes, that's what we need in an incident is time.
Just to give you an idea, again, this would be a typical phone in any classroom. You'll notice down here at the bottom, we've designated one button as a lockdown button. And if that button is pressed, it elicits a two-way authentication where you have to then press a certain number to engage the lockdown button. Just as a note, again, you learn from all kinds of incidences, right? So initially the lockdown, you would press lockdown. Are you sure you want this to be a lockdown? Press 1. You press 1, boom, it goes into lockdown. Well, what we had happen was somebody thought they were hitting an open line and they were going to call long distance. So they thought it was an open line, went to hit long distance, it activated. So now we've had to change the number. That would never be a number that you would press right away to go into lockdown. But you learn from those things.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea how quick and what this sounds like, I'm going to play this. This was the very first video we came out, so we just took it with our phone. This is still the number one, and we've refined it now to where once that number, the new number is pressed, you'll hear a kind of an English siren, all right? It will go off, and that goes off in the entire PA system in the district, and it tells you where that lockdown was activated from, the actual classroom. So people in the building will know that a lockdown was activated in room 237, and obviously that means it's probably close to where whatever the situation is that's going on is there. So it provides us with a little bit of information right off the bat. And then we would come on shortly after that and begin to inform. So here's
So
what.
all of the phone systems are not connected to each building, it's just internal within their own building,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now, with that being said, though, anytime this is activated, other offices throughout the district will also be notified that an alert was triggered at a specific building.
Also admin.
All admin.
All admin and 38 first responders.
And that's an important one we want to highlight. So as soon as you hear this lockdown, it sends an immediate text to 38 first responders
To their cell phone.
to their cell phones, who can be en route to the district immediately. So we're eliminating lots of, we don't have to call 911 right away. We don't have, I mean, it is immediately going out and notifying people that the building is in lockdown. Now, if it's a mistake, we're letting 38 people, know pretty quickly that, but that's what we do. So here's what it sounds like.
Oh, there's no sound.
Well, that didn't work, John. Can we try it again?
Mike's gonna see if it's on your key.
Oops, I'm sorry, it went again. I really wanted you to hear this, so we practiced this and it worked. Are you checking now, Mike?
It also 911 as well. But the recording you'll hear there is the same recording you would hear on your cell phones and what the first responders would hear, which is again another great addition to the relationship we have with our responders.
Your volume here.
Yeah, that's what.
Volume here was on high.
I'm talking on the PC.
Yeah, I'll have to get out real quick.
Oh, it's 100.
Yeah, it's the right one. So, I don't know if I can play it from here, if it'll do any different. If we can get that corrected, we'll let you know, but I'm kind of disappointed that you couldn't hear that because it's so specific with a loud horn and
Afraid it's going to go off right in my ear.
and we're not gonna actually try one here because we'll have a lot of people. All right, so we'll kind of move on. You can try it on yours. I don't know if you can turn it up to hear it.
Same problem. Sorry.
Technology is great when it works.
When it works.
That works, yep. All right, let's go back to the slideshow. Okay. Another piece that we have is what's called Navigate Prepared. I'll let you kind of share a little bit about what this is in the district.
Yeah, initially, Navigate Prepared is a safety piece program. I went through, and so if you have this, and I can give all of you access to this, if you email me, I can set you up an account so that you can go in, and Virtual Binders holds all of our emergency operations plans. It's got maps and floor plans, so the map would come up, you could click on fire extinguishers, it shows you where every fire extinguisher is. Cameras, it shows you where they are, which way they're pointing. This used to be the way that first responders would get into our cameras, but there were too many steps, and with the new camera system that we have, we were able to eliminate a lot of steps to where they can just get on there much quicker. I've created flip charts, so like on my phone, I have an app, and it's got our district flip chart on it, and we let folks know that if they would like to put the app on their phone, we've got respond, reunification, flip charts, drill scenarios, which is kind of cool, in virtual binders. They're welcome to do so. So there's our flip chart. I've kind of colored it as our school. And so each one of those, and the flip chart is designed, it matches our EOP, or our emergency operations plan. The respond app, folks can use in drills. So there's a fire drill, and you're at Dan Emmett, you go to that, and it's about accountability. So it starts off with 212 in the red, and as teachers count their students and it goes back, you see it go towards the green, the number go to green, so that you've got all your kiddos. This syncs with DASL, or with LACA, every 24 hours. So it has our kiddos' names and what class they're in and their teacher already meshed. So it's a great accountability piece. So there are tons and tons of tools within this program.
We also, I thought I'd give you just a quick little glimpse. This is Twin Oak Elementary, and so the camera system will look like this throughout the district. I just pulled up, I could pull up one and it would take up the whole screen, or I pulled up 6. This is all 6 exterior cameras at Twin Oak. And so to have the ability to look at that anywhere from, like we could look at today's, it provides us a lot of wonderful safety features, kind of knowing who's where and when and what they're doing. So that kind of gives you an idea there. Our bus cameras, I told you we had 6 cameras on each bus. This past year we added a stop arm camera. And so we now have 4 cameras in the basic cabin of the bus. 1 right looking at the door, 2 at mid-aft, and I think we're getting a little bit of echo now. And 1 in the rear. We also have 1 now that goes out the front view, and it shoots a real wide view. But then when the school bus has stopped and the stop arm goes out, there's a camera that swings out and it catches both ways. Wow. So we're catching, we're able to see who's running our reds. And it takes it's really remarkable. We've had to engage law enforcement, and we have certain routes where people just run those reds maybe more regularly than you'd ever imagine.
I just can't, I find that unbelievable.
And so then all of a sudden, you know, I get that it could happen as a mistake and you're driving, all of a sudden they pop out and you're kind of like, you know, right there. But some people just get frustrated and they want to zip around us, and these stop arm cameras are really handy. This is rapid barricade, and Alice used to be a situation where you would take all your furniture and you'd throw it in front of the door. That was the idea. You would barricade, and we practiced that for a couple of years. I mean, we moved file cabinets. I mean, anything you could move, and then they started to come up with different devices, and this was a device that we selected. Rick was really instrumental in this device nationwide. You can see it just kind of, that blue lever just kind of hangs there. But in the event of an active shooter, we would make sure everybody's inside our classroom, and we would simply flip that. And it would flip around almost like a deadbolt lock, and it would set right into that second picture right here. And Rick, I don't know the poundage, I mean, it would take a lot of...
And we put 1,300 pound PSI on it before it would bend. It'll bend and still work, but it wouldn't break. the stacking of the chairs was great if you're committed to staying. But if you hear that the threat is on the other end of the building and you're able to get out and you feel comfortable that you can, man, that's what we want you to do. And we don't want you to have to remove everything. So this, if you hear good information, you simply hit the lever like you always do to leave, and moves out of the way on its own, and you're able to exit without any extra training. You just leave like always. It moves itself.
And then the last section we have here, just to kind of share with you, it's about a positive school culture. We have implemented a school safe helpline. It's on our district website. It's monitored by the Ohio Department of Education in conjunction with the governor's office. We have positive behavior intervention supports going on in every building. That's PBIS. And I will continue to say it is a positive program, irregardless of the feelings that might be out there in the political spectrum. Positive behaviors and interventions to support students has been a very good thing for us, and we're mandated to do it. It's not like we have a choice. Social emotional learning activities, those continue to be important. We want kids to be kind. We heard from the Dan Emmett young man about kindness. The activities that we're doing in social emotional learning really talk a lot about respect and how to treat others and how to handle conflict resolution. It is not about CRT. It's not about all the things that, again, sometimes we get inundated with. We do have social workers in every building. We have school health aides in every building. I did introduce Nova, the therapy dog that goes around with Jeremiah. The school-based health center is coming soon. Again, I see that as a positive. People can take advantage of it or they don't have to take advantage. Primary health care, dental vision, and mental health support. And there's a new thing out that Rick was sharing with me that's come out of the Ohio Department of Health or Education, that we have to develop student-led violence prevention groups coming up. Is it this year?
March of 23, we have to have those, which I think are a great thing. We can get student involvement. I started a safety committee at the high school, which then turned into the diversity club. But we started off and it changed over to that, which is great, but this will be something more just as a led violence prevention. Another one that is coming is the lady, she's left, but a suicide prevention training for staff. Something that's coming down the line.
And when you think of a positive school culture or school climate, this is a word you probably hear a lot. It's become really a common word that I think perhaps even gets misused. We don't want bullying by any sense of the imagination, but it just can get used so frequently. And does it apply? Does it not apply? And we've really talked about identifying bullying. And bullying is defined as a repeated aggressive behavior where one person or group of people in a position of power deliberately intimidate, abuse, or coerce an individual with the intention to hurt a person physically or emotionally. And it goes on to say, while these interactions are unpleasant, there is a clear line between conflict and bullying, because there is conflict, and we have to learn through conflict. So for it to be bullying, all three of those things really need to be a part of it. It's intentional, it's repeated, and it develops some sort of a power imbalance. I saw this recently, and I thought it just described it very simply. And they must have done something at this particular school. Is it bullying? ? When someone says or does something unintentionally hurtful and they do it once, that's rude. When someone says or does something intentionally that's hurtful or unkind and they do it once, that's mean. All right? But when someone says or does something intentionally hurtful and keeps doing it, even when you tell them to stop or show them that you're upset, then that steps to the line of bullying. And so often, an unkind look, which we wish people wouldn't be unkind, and that's what our social emotional learning is all about, all right?
We have Jeff Klein in the parking lot bullying Jamie Ingledew. I'll be right back.
Somebody want to make sure that our premises are okay. And so I think it's really important that we really identify, because anytime there's an issue, it may be an unkind, it's just really quickly thrown out as bullying. And we don't want any of the unkind things to begin with, but identifying it, I think, was important. And then finally, the last slide that I have is what more can we do? Because Rick is always looking for more, and I appreciate that so much about him. Obviously, what's been brought up tonight a little bit has been, you know, people providing us with more options and more tools. House Bill 99, which was probably going to be part of Ms. Reguladai's brief overview, was passed by the governor. And, you know, it basically allows for teachers, provided there's board approval, to carry a gun with 24 hours of training. And while in some ways we're appreciative that we have additional tools, I think I would speak for myself and for Rick, and I won't speak for Rick, I'll let Rick speak for himself. But those that we talk to, 24 hours of training just is inadequate. I really want teachers to be teachers. I would love for anything to be a deterrent for anybody to walk in our school. But I think you'll find that most law enforcement officers are really concerned about this bill, just because of the training piece that's involved. I don't know if you realize when they first came out with this that boards could choose to do this, there was 700 hours of peace officer training that needed to take place. Now it's down to 24. I think you'll find law enforcement officers will share a concern that when they get into a lockdown and they're coming to the scene, they don't know if that person in the hallway is a teacher or not a teacher. How do you identify who is who, and so on and so forth. So again, while I'm appreciative for additional tools, I don't feel comfortable right now with House Bill 99 with 24 hours. And finding those right people, if we ever did decide to go, that would be a real challenge. Knowing that there's ongoing training, you can't just take a 24-hour class and think, go have at it, right? You know, I don't know if the board has any other thoughts on that. Rick, do you have a thought you want to share?
I agree 100% with Cedar. This conference I was at, it was brought. They found out I was from Ohio. This was a national conference for there's people from all across the country. And Mr. Cedar's 100% right. Law enforcement, they don't like the idea because when they come in, they're looking for a threat, and they're not looking at who's holding the threat. They're eliminating the threat. And I hear a lot of folks say, "Well, if I had the opportunity, I would carry," and I'm not sure that they're really thinking it through of all the variables and all the things that can go wrong. I think there's a lot there to really think about before you would take that on.
And these comments are coming from people who are Second Amendment advocates. I mean, you know, I'm a hunter. I have weapons. I know Rick is as well. But in the arms of someone who's untrained or for 24 hours trained, I mean, you know, if I would happen to be hunting for a deer and I see one, my heart just starts racing and pumping, and you know, you can only imagine someone certainly less trained in a school setting. And I'm all for doing more to harden our schools and to provide more safety things. I just don't think this gun legislation is really the appropriate way to go.
I did have one question, and that is, have you thought about having some kind of presentations for parents so that they could be alert, you know, for suicide, for any students who are so upset that they may try to harm others or instead of themselves?
So have, for both of those? So I would love to put up together a presentation, for those parents. But I get
Like what to look for.
what to look for. I talk with our drivers, a lot of our classified staff, our bus drivers see the kid pick them up in the morning, and I tell them just to look for changing behavior. They know our kids. I find that the students seem to open up to a lot of our classified, the lunch lady and the bus drivers. I'm not sure exactly why they do, but it seems that they do. So I try to spend a lot of time in those areas as well, just to, things to look for. And when you do see something that's not quite right, let us know. Let me know, and then we can go into, we can talk with DHP. We do have an MOU with DHP here in the county. They're one of our community, I wouldn't say first responders, but mental health folks. And then I've got a lot of close ties with law enforcement, so we can kind of start looking at it without them know we're looking at it, if that makes sense.
And Rick and I talked earlier today, just re-emphasizing the see something, say something, hear something, keeping that at the forefront of just, some of the dialogue that we have, because where they're seeing this on social media. And we've had many instances where folks will see something and they'll share it with a teacher, maybe the Safe School Helpline, they'll share it with a parent who will share it, and then it just allows us to take the kind of necessary steps to be protected.
I think that's absolutely.
Yeah, they 4 pieces of school safety that when I think of school safety are prevention, response, mitigate, and recovery. And honestly, the 2 in the middle, I think we've got it nailed. I think we're doing really good with those 2. We still have some prevention work to do as far as training staff on what to look for and things to do, and we're going to learn on the recovery. Recovery we want to do right because it's going to be, when I say it's going to be, because the way my brain works, it's going to happen. And I don't want it to, believe me, I do not, but that's how I work. And I want to make sure we do it right and get the kiddos back to their parents safe and sound as fast as possible. So recovery is going to be a lot of work, and frankly, that's where you're going to be judged. And I hate to use it that way, but that's where you're going to get picked apart in the event. So those are my 2 that I think that we really need to work on in the future. Not saying not to work on the ones in the middle, but
Prevention, I think.
Yes, that's, I hear threat assessment a lot. I like to use the term threat prevention. So if we can keep it out, then we don't need the firearms in schools.
Any other questions for Rick as it relates to safety?
Yes, I have several questions. Thank you for this presentation. It's just extremely helpful and important. Rick, when you were talking about the safety committee, and you mentioned threat assessments, is that in respect to like a red flag that teachers and other personnel would recognize in a student that maybe there is something?
Yeah, there are 2 different committees. So we'll have a safety committee, which will be the umbrella of the campus of that building, and to talk about some threats. But then we're going to have trained threat assessment teams, and that's where we're more social emotional driven.
Great. And then does the police department, our police department and sheriff's department know all of our protocols? For instance, are there keywords that we don't need to know, but are there keywords that police officers would use so students would actually recognize that it is an officer and not the intruder?
When we're doing a drill, we come over and we don't use any we call we don't use code words at all.
Okay.
Because we describe what that person's wearing in the, that's going through. So he's in a red hoodie, hood's up, wearing black pants, And we keep describing that over and over and over. We don't want any downtime during the drill, so students are hearing that that's what the intruder's wearing. And we even went so far as to have I'll knock on the door and say, Sheriff's Department, let me in. They won't let me in, so.
Okay, the reason I asked that question is because there was another incident in a high school somewhere here in the United States, and the police were clearing, and they knocked on the door, and the kids had barricaded it, and the police said, open up, and the kids said, we don't feel comfortable doing that, and the police said, come on, bro. Well, the kids said, that's a red flag.
Yep.
And so they jumped out the window. And I was really pleased that they did
Yeah,
that.
we make an announcement. So there is, like, for the teachers at the high school, and that's when the drill is over, Mr. Coughlin will get on and maybe check your email or something like that, and then it's an all clear. But they will not, if they let us into a door, then that's an issue. We've not had that problem yet.
Okay, excellent. And then finally, this is in relationship to the use of our facilities by the community. For instance, when we had the power outages across Knox County recently, since I wasn't home, did we have the opportunity to open up any of our facilities that had power?
Oh, unfortunately, a lot of our buildings were without power.
Were without power. That's what I assumed. I
Yeah.
assumed that would happen, but.
But yeah, right. I don't believe that anybody really.
And we didn't intentionally look at those buildings that did have power and make some sort of announcement to invite them in.
Mm-hmm.
I know the YMCA, I think, did something with
Yes.
showers and some
Yeah.
things like
Uh-huh.
that. It could be something that we potentially think about in the future. You invite them in, then are you inviting them to stay? And then how do you, kind of work through that?
Right, right, okay. Thank you, and wow, this is just awesome. We're so proud of you, Rick, and Superintendent Cedar for all of this such important work. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. And if anybody ever wants more, I can go on for hours. Feel free to give me a call, we can sit down and have coffee.
Thanks for the help.
Thank you.
I have just one item for board approval in this section tonight, and the rest of the agenda is pretty straightforward, so we'll move through pretty quickly, I believe. But that was important information. So a number of student handbooks to approve for tonight's meeting. Thank you for some of you who kind of noticed little spellings and some different things that we were able to kind of send back out to have folks address. So that's the only thing on the board agenda tonight in this section.
I would entertain a motion to approve the student handbooks, including the administrative.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Were there any additional questions? Comments? And I appreciate all the work that goes into updating those.
Appreciate you reading them.
Okay, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Ward? Yes. Ms. Regola Dye?
Yes.
Mr. Workman?
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann?
Yes.
Dr. Bennett?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Since this has been such a long meeting, I'm going to be just really brief and just call attention to on the success they mentioned in the first article about preschool funding being so relatively low in Ohio. It's 33rd among all the states, and it has not within reach of serving at least 70% of 4-year-olds. I did not know we were in that situation, but I think locally we're in a lot better shape than that. So. The second article is about reading gets a boost from mixed reality glasses, and I thought that was really interesting because they're glasses that students wear, and as they're reading, they can tell by their eye movement tracking if a student is stuck on a word, and then they provide, or a concept, and they display audiovisual explanatory content to help the student move forward. So I thought that was really neat. And then there's an article on what students need to know about digital citizenship, and they've done a study, and it's really kind of scary with the survey that they did that shows how students are so gullible and how we need to be very vigilant in keeping our students informed. Nearly half of the students who were surveyed in grades 4 through 8, 40%, connected or chatted with a stranger online, according to this survey. And this survey was conducted by Harvard Graduate School of Education principal investigator. And the purpose was to evaluate internet safety, digital citizenship, etc. And they chatted with a stranger online, according to the study. And then of those, 53% gave a stranger their phone numbers, and 15% tried to even meet with a stranger in person. So just reminds us that we need to be very vigilant in reminding our students that online etiquette includes being wise about digital access and who to respond to. So if you have any questions, that article you can link in if you want to read more, but I wanted to be quick tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one item in this section for board approval tonight. It's the College Credit Plus Textbook Rental Program. As you know, probably MVNU is one of our larger College Credit Plus institutions that we partner with. And we actually have a rental agreement with them. And this just really codifies that. And we continue to put that up every year for your approval.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve that. Ms. Wright?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Workman.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any other questions? Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Mr. Ward. Yes. Ms. Regola-Dye.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Fiscal services.
Well, there's a lot here. None of it is, only one piece of information under this section would be new. So I can spend as much or as little time as you want. I'll just address the first one. Obviously, we are renewing our property and liability insurance. I had the opportunity to share it with Tim and get his feedback on it. Obviously, the market is the market, so we're seeing an increase, but we feel like it's reasonable, considering the fact that we've had some claims, with this same company, be it the light pole that fell at the football field, or we even have some claims as a result of this most recent storm. So, any questions there? And that'll tie into the last one, so I can kind of bring that up. The report is very boilerplate.
Let's just hold up.
Yeah, sure.
I would just say about the property liability, not only did the price go up, but also the deductible, which that concerned me a little bit. Some of them.
Well, we had some discussions about that. I don't know if you remember raising them last year, just to take off. Just to save, right? So that's all a part of it.
Yeah. I understand.
This is probably as boilerplate. I know I say that a lot, but it's as boilerplate as it can get here. Nothing that I particularly wanted to point out regarding this. So if the board doesn't have any questions, we'll continue on to the next link, which would be some amendment to appropriations.
It might be important to remind the board that you're seeing 100% in a lot of areas. The fiscal year for Gary and the Treasury Department, this is the last month, is that right?
Yeah.
So we'll be closing out, and so, if we're less on expenditures, yay. And, hopefully if we collect 100% or more, yay. And those are positive things.
Yeah, we talked about, obviously I adjusted the middle column there after the most recent forecast. So the numbers were very whoppertrol, to use not very articulate language, because, as I said, with the ESSER funding, we've been able to reduce so many expenses utilizing that money that it had this. And we had the Fair School Funding Plan, which was in place, but didn't actually kick in until January, and it had this looking pretty awful. So we've been able to straighten it out as a result of the changes.
And the grants will come in as we submit.
Yeah. We were doing final PCRs for the fiscal year this week. Obviously, we'll close it next week.
So that will be closer to 100.
So you do see amendments. last year, even after the fiscal year, I had to bring some back. I don't anticipate that. So what I'm asking for is the money we're spending the rest of this month in particular areas. And Bill, you can open that if the board hasn't had a chance to look at it. You know how this goes. I need your approval to spend the money. None of this, all of these are areas where the money is either already here or it's a grant. You see the wellness dollars. Those are going away, as you know. They've been wrapped into general fund, but when it initially came out, it was the 467 fund. Well, we're still spending those, and we haven't even had to touch the new general fund allocations, which will need to pay for the social workers and things along those lines.
Again, that amendment line that you're looking at is really this last one.
I don't know if it's helpful or harmful to give you the whole year.
I think it's helpful.
Sometimes we get a grant that we didn't know we were going to get, and just a variety of things come up. So I like to lay it out there, and you can see the changes we've made. So you would be approving, so we can just basically finish this fiscal year, and this will start over. Speaking of that, the next tab is the temporary appropriations to get us started. And if you were to not approve this, no one could spend a dime next month, so you might get some phone calls.
We would be fine. Yes.
These are educated guesses. What we do for some of these, most of these, is we take the money we've spent up through 11 months and we go, we think we're gonna spend this much next year. So we don't always,
an estimate.
Yeah, we don't always get these right, but we'll come back and we'll do the final appropriations in September. And the reason we wait till September is we can spend out the federal grants until September. So that's when you will get asked to do the final appropriations for the next fiscal year.
Okay.
And then continuing, what I'm asking the board to do is pass this resolution, which would tie back into the property and liability. Asking the board to allow us to shift from being a bonded, this would include the board, to being insured. This was a law that passed about 3 years ago. And what this does is it not only, barring criminal activity, it protects you personally as well as the entity or the school district, where a bond just protects the school district, but not you personally, or to be honest, me personally. So I'm not a huge fan of the bonding versus the insured. I'd rather be insured. I'm hoping the board would rather be insured.
Is it like a directors and officers
Yes.
liability protection?
And I even, I printed like an
I'm in support.
It honestly, it protects basically this group here. It also extends, but it is more protection. Where the bond was typically for me $100,000, this is $250,000 for all of us. And why this ties into the first one is which is the company that insures our property and liability, doesn't offer this, so we would be working with another company just specifically for public employee dishonesty, and the one I'm more concerned with, faithful performance of duty, where if you make a mistake, you didn't intend to do it, you're not being a criminal, you would be covered personally as well as the entity being protected.
Who's that policy with?
That is with Hanover, and it's not official yet. It would be with Hanover if you as a board approve it. I've got the paperwork on my desk, hoping you will say yes, so I can sign it and ship it off. And we can come back to any questions you have. We have a memorial book here. This one obviously it's close to home with the Central Office staff. In memory of Eric Brown's dad, Richard Brown, the book Animal Farm has been gifted to the high school library. We also have a couple of donations I would like to mention. This sort of finalizes work that took place at East a while back. This is them, and it's almost ceremonial, but it officially gives it to the Board of Education as your property because they played a role in paying for it. So we greatly appreciate that. I know the board paid for a lot of that, and the PTO at East paid for a lot of that. So it was a joint effort, but this is them giving it back, so to speak, to the Board of Education. So we greatly appreciate the East School PTO, and we appreciate Mr. Lewis, who just retired and has donated some audio equipment to the middle school that is valued at $600. that is it in terms of my realm, unless you have questions.
I would entertain a motion to approve the fiscal services items as written.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ward.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Gulladye. And now, if you have any questions?
I just had one question, that wasn't Walt Lewis's boombox that he brought in when
No. I think he actually.
Collector's item
had
now.
that when I was the principal. It's a nice speaker.
Any other questions, legitimate or would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ward,
Yes.
Mr. Gulladye,
Yes.
Mr. Workman,
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann,
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Mr. Gulladye.
Thank you. Just briefly, HB 99, as Superintendent Cedar mentioned, was signed into law by the governor. And this bill specifically overrules the Ohio Supreme Court decision in the Gabbard versus Madison School District Board of Education. This bill establishes the Ohio Mobile Training Team and the Ohio School Safety and Crisis Center. It also allows the 24-hour training, minimal training for the carrying of a weapon for school employees, and it also requires that person authorized by the local school board to have to submit to an annual criminal records check. And in this court decision, what I thought was interesting is that the Chief Justice O'Connor stated that the language in the statute regarding the training and carrying of weapons in a school safety zone was a strained reading of the statute, so that it was their interpretation of the original statute that they felt was unlawful. HB 140, another bill, is in regard to ballot language. And the governor signed HB 687 for capital appropriations for the 2023 and 2024 school years. Finally, in the State Board of Education, the Education Committee unanimously approved Dr. Stephanie K. Siddons as the interim state superintendent. I haven't had a chance yet to send an email or a letter to the governor regarding HB 99, but I will do so and reiterate our objections or our concerns with this bill. Thank you.
No items, moving ahead to
I do not have an OHSA.
Thank you. And turn it over to Ms. Rose.
This thing's really big. Like I need to direct the wire or something. All right, so I have an item for information for you. If you'll remember, I brought a similar item to you last school year. And this is in regards to transportation to and from the Learning Spectrum, which is a chartered non-public school in the same category as St. Vincent. They're a chartered non-public as well. So I worked with Todd Conant, our district's maintenance director, in working through the considerations that are required through the Ohio Revised Code. And we looked at 7 different scenarios, possible solutions in ways to get the children to and from the school in the Johnstown area. And so after consideration of those 7 different possibilities, I ask for your resolution today to declare an impracticality of transportation, allowing the district then to offer payment in lieu of that transportation through what is called Type 4 transportation with the Ohio Department of Education. They have not released the final amount of that reimbursement for parents, but it tends to be in that $1,100 range. They haven't released the final numbers for the next school year. So I would ask for your approval of that resolution.
I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Workman. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gulladye. Now, were there any questions for Mrs. Rowe? You did a good job of explaining
Yeah.
the material.
But I also forgot number 2 on my list. So can I backpedal for just a second before you take a final vote? May I do that?
Sure.
So I also have a contracted service agreement from the Educational Service Center of Central Ohio. This is for orientation and mobility services for our visually impaired students. Some of our students that are learning how to use a cane in the public setting and throughout their school environment. So again, I would ask for your approval on both of those. So.
And we included those.
All right, that's good.
Okay, there are no other questions, would you call the
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Rolla-Dyke.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel, certificated and licensed staff.
Thank you. We're down to our final 2 sessions for tonight. Both of them are personnel items. This is for certificated and licensed staff. We have a number of resignations as we get kind of late people who lose on to different positions, and we certainly wish them well, for sure. And then we found people to hire in their place. So you're going to see a lot of hiring in this section. So item A is resignations. We have summer school going on right now. So those are teachers who continue to serve in that role. For the 2022-23 school year, you're seeing a number of 1-year and 2-year, even 3-year contracts, because that's kind of our cycle. I have 2 administrative contracts for approval tonight. And this section C here are new teachers. And so you're going to see quite a list of new teachers. Some names you may recognize, some Mount Vernon names. We really feel, quite frankly, blessed to have some really good new teachers coming in. I get a chance to talk with other superintendents in other areas who are just really struggling to even find enough to fill out applications. And yet, you know, we're not settling for anyone. We're getting good quality candidates. And so we're really excited to introduce all of those people. Hopefully we'll have a chance to introduce them a bit more personally when we get into August. Number of transfers. So anytime you have a transfer, it creates another opening, which creates another posting. And so we had a few people who decided they wanted to check out a new building or to check out the new subject area. And that's quite a list there of those as well. And then you'll see our traditional substitute teachers, our extended time contracts, supplemental contracts, especially fall season here. You're noticing most of those in our fall. And volunteer coaches, and then you'll see some of our district leadership teams and different committees that we have based on the contract for this coming school year, which is pretty customary for this time of the year. And then finally, our auxiliary tutor to the Seventh-day Adventist school. So those items, A through O, for your approval.
I would entertain a motion to approve all of those items.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Mrs. Rolla-Dyke. Were there any questions?
The only question I have is under H, the extracurricular contacts. Those are not, those would be lay people and not technically supplementals.
What section is that?
H. Just so that that's understood as such, that those are all lay.
As far as they're
curricular
non,
contracts.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
Oh, okay. So those are folks who are not employed from a district other than a supplemental.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, would you call?
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mr. Rolla-Dyke.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. And we have one additional extracurricular.
We do. We have one additional extracurricular item for your consideration. Katie Getzmann is an amazing cheerleading advisor, and we wanted to separate this one out because we had so many in the other section. And, I wanted Mrs. Getzmann to be able to approve all of those new hires, and so in this section, she'll abstain. So for your approval.
Entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Workman and Mr. Ward. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward. Yes. Mr. Golodai.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Abstain.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you.
And I will
Yeah,
pass
think
this
about
away.
that.
Hey,
Yeah.
classified
And
staff.
our final section for tonight is our classified staff. Number of items for your approval tonight. You're seeing new employment there listed, as well as 2- and 3-year contracts through the sequence. You're also seeing a retirement. We mentioned Jackie Hess at the onset of our meeting, and a couple bus drivers who have also retired. Always disappointing to see really good bus drivers leave, but we wish them well, and a couple resignations there for your approval tonight.
I would entertain a motion to approve classified staff items.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Golodai. Second.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mrs. Getzmann. Were there any questions? Will you call the roll?
Mr. Golodai.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Dr. Bennett.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. We are to our final section of board member comments. I'll just thank everyone for coming again and wish you a very safe and healthy, wonderful summer. You can get some rest and relaxation. I know our staff have just worked so hard this year. I'm hoping July at least will be a month in which you can take some vacation time. Be ready for fall. And I appreciate board members and your dedication, and it just really helps to have a good team behind us. Thank you so much.
I have nothing in particular other than I unfortunately could not attend the Untouchable, is that right? Unstoppable softball game last night. I had another work commitment, but I have read and seen so many heartfelt comments and pictures about the event and the way that it was handled. So I just wanted to publicly thank Ryan Pence and Justin Sanford for organizing and for putting that event on. It just seemed like it was an absolutely amazing event, and I was sorry that I was this. So thank you to Justin and Ryan and the rest of the staff for putting that together. So.
Mr. Golodai.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone here this evening and at home who may be watching. I'd just like to reiterate that our great staff teaches children to think and to treat each other with decency. And those, I think, are our main goals. I'd also like to thank our board, our superintendent. What an honor it is to work with such qualified and dedicated people. Thank you.
I wanted to thank our superintendent and Rick for that presentation tonight. Knowing that my spouse is in one of these buildings year-round, I pay attention to it a little differently. And when you have situations like what we all saw out of Texas, and you go back in time and have seen others, it always makes you feel a little more vulnerable when you see what happens, how it affects families, communities, and so forth. So I wanted to thank you all for that presentation. That was something. But mostly, thank you, Rick, for caring. We can pay you to do a lot of things, but we can't pay you to care. And it comes across that you care.
Passion.
And that matters. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank very passionate about his work.
Yes. Man. The biggest for me was that entire safety plan, and thanks so much to Rick and Mr. Cedar. The passion part of it from Rick, I saw that clearly. I don't doubt that you could go on for hours about this. And in fact, someone being in the risk management profession, I appreciate what you're doing and the time that you're putting in. So to have someone like you that's as dedicated to that gives me a lot of peace. And the tools that we have for the safety, amazing. I had a little bit of an idea, but not what I saw. And so very impressive with response times and everything. So thank you very much for that. And it is summer, so I wish everybody a happy summer as well.
And what's amazing about Rick is that he's also going to other districts and, you know.
Teaching.
Teaching,
Most
yeah.
recent was a national presentation.
Yeah, in fact, I get to go and do Alice training at City Hall, next month. I've done, Alice training at the health department. I've done the ESC, next is City Hall, so.
Better be careful.
Yeah.
You need to rate our just standard a little bit.
That's right.
Yeah, it is.
And I think you're talking about doing something for OSC.
Yeah, I did, the OSSS, the OS, Ohio State School Safety Center Conference in August. I did submit an application, to speak there, about, I've not heard yet, but I just put a brief paragraph together about, it takes a community to keep our kids safe. And I feel we have that here. I think we have a great team here.
You know that you're well appreciated.
Absolutely.
Both of
Yes. Thank you.
you. And we need no other, did you want to say anything?
Oh, just,
You said
you all
it
said
about
it, so.
Okay, I would entertain a motion then to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Go back in a second.
I'll second that.
Ms. Regola Dye.
Yes.
Mrs. Getzmann.
Yes.
Mr. Workman.
Yes.
Mr. Ward.
Yes.
Mr. Baird.
Motion carried. Thank you all.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.